Your cat has been meowing at you. Not once, not as a greeting when you walked through the door. Constantly, at the empty bowl before you've touched the food, at the closed bathroom door, at the middle distance in a room with nothing in it. You have tried responding. You have tried ignoring it. You have checked the bowl, opened the door, looked where they were looking. The meowing continues. Most people settle on an explanation. Their cat is needy, or vocal by nature, or just being a cat. It feels like noise without architecture. But there is a finding about cat meowing that almost no owner knows, and it changes what that sound actually is at a fundamental level. We will get there. But to understand it, you have to start with something that sounds almost impossible. Your cat almost certainly does not meow at other cats. And the reason why tells you everything. Dr. John Bradshaw at the University of Bristol spent decades studying cat behavior in domestic and feral populations. The picture that emerges from that research is this. Adult cats living in colonies communicate almost entirely through scent marking, body posture, tail position, and facial expression. Vocalization between adult cats is rare, context-specific, and largely confined to agonistic encounters, threat, pain, mating. The sustained, varied back and forth of meowing that cats direct at humans simply doesn't appear between cats. That is not a quirk of domestication. That is the entire shape of their social communication system. Meowing at other adult cats is not part of it, which means every meow your cat has ever directed at you was not a generic animal sound broadcast into the world. It was targeted. That is not a small distinction. The question is what it actually contains. Research by Nicholas Nicastro at Cornell University, completed in 2003 and published in 2004, recorded and acoustically analyzed hundreds of cat vocalizations, then had human listeners rate them without any prior exposure to those specific cats. The listeners were able to reliably distinguish between meows produced in different contexts: food solicitation, distress, greeting, at above chance levels, based solely on acoustic properties, frequency, duration, tonal quality. The sound itself carried consistent, decodable information. Separately, phonetics researcher Dr. Suzanne Schutz at Lund University, in work spanning from 2015 onward, used spectrographic analysis to map the full range of feline vocalizations and found that cats produce acoustically distinct forms: trills, chirrups, murmurs, howls, each with a different internal state signature. The meow is not one thing. It is a structured set of signals, each shaped by what the cat is experiencing in that moment. Think about what that means. The sound you have been hearing as repetitive noise has internal differentiation. The meow your cat produces at an empty bowl is not the same acoustic event as the one it produces at a closed door or in the middle of the night. They are not the same signal. If you have been treating them as equivalent, you have been missing the variation in the message. That still does not explain the constancy. Why do some cats meow not occasionally, but relentlessly, cycling through signals for minutes or hours at a time? The behavioral literature identifies three distinct drivers. They require very different responses, and confusing them has consequences. The first is the one most owners create without knowing it. Applied behavior analysis, documented in veterinary clinical frameworks, including the work of Dr. Karen Overall at the University of Pennsylvania, establishes that any response to a behavior, including a negative one, like saying no or pushing the cat away, constitutes reinforcement if the behavior increases in frequency following it. Intermittent reinforcement, responding sometimes, but not always, produces behavior that is significantly more resistant to extinction than consistent reinforcement. Variable schedules produce the highest response rates and the most persistent behavior in any organism. A cat that receives a response to its meowing on an unpredictable schedule has been placed on the single most durable reinforcement pattern known to behavioral science. It has learned that meowing sometimes works. That is not demand in the human sense. That is a communication that has been repeatedly confirmed as functional, now running at full volume because the schedule of confirmation made it robust. The cat that meows constantly at you may have been taught to do so across months of ordinary interaction, with no intent on your part and no awareness on theirs. The second driver is harder to see because it looks like the opposite of what it is. Research consistent across the behavioral literature identifies chronic environmental stress, unpredictable routine, resource insecurity, territorial uncertainty, as a documented driver of increased vocalization in cats. The cat that meows at what appears to be nothing, or at closed doors, or in the evening when nothing has changed, may not be demanding anything. It may be reporting. The sound that reads as impatience is sometimes the only available channel for communicating that something in the environment feels wrong. That is not a cat being difficult. That is a cat using the one directed signal it has developed for the species it lives with. The third driver is the one most frequently dismissed as personality. It is the one with the clearest medical urgency. Feline hyperthyroidism, caused by a benign tumor of the thyroid gland, is the most common endocrine disorder in cats over 10 years of age, a finding established by Peterson, Kinzer, and colleagues in the Journal of the American Veterinary Medical Association in 1983 and replicated extensively since. Increased vocalization is a primary presenting behavioral symptom, alongside weight loss despite increased appetite, hyperactivity, and increased thirst. Many owners report the vocalization as the first change they noticed, often months before any other symptom became visible. Feline cognitive dysfunction, the equivalent of dementia in cats, affects a significant proportion of aging animals. With some prevalent studies, including work by feline medicine researcher Danielle Gunn Moore at the University of Edinburgh, estimating rates of around 28% in cats between 11 and 14 years, and over 50% in cats 15 and older, though estimates vary across studies. Nighttime yowling and disoriented vocalization are among its defining behavioral markers. When an older cat that has not previously been vocal begins meowing persistently, especially at night, especially in a directionless way, that sound is clinical data. It is not a personality shift. It is the body producing the only signal available to it. The distinction between these three drivers matters enormously for how you respond. A behaviorally reinforced meower needs the schedule of reinforcement changed, not ignored wholesale, not rewarded, but addressed with consistency. A stressed cat needs the environment assessed for what has shifted. A cat with a thyroid condition or cognitive decline needs a veterinarian. Treating all three identically, waiting it out, attributing it to breed temperament, assuming the cat will eventually stop, means that in at least one of those cases, you are not missing a demand. You are missing a distress report. Now, we can return to what was mentioned at the start. Your cat almost certainly does not meow at other cats. That is not an interesting footnote. It is the entire architecture of the question, because it means meowing as a sustained communication system did not develop between cats. It developed in the presence of humans. Bradshaw's synthesis of decades of behavioral research establishes this directly. The meow, as cats direct it at the people they live with, is a vocalization that evolved specifically in the context of human interaction. The Nicastro and Schutz acoustic work then adds a layer that most owners never encounter. Research suggests that cats in long-term relationships with specific humans develop vocal patterns that appear tailored to those relationships, with pitch, duration, and repetition shifting in ways consistent with learned response from that particular person, rather than humans generally. Not from people in the abstract, from the specific human in front of them. Think about what that means. Your cat's meow, the precise sound it produces at you, in your home, at that hour, is not a fixed biological signal broadcast at whoever happens to be present. It has been calibrated to you, adjusted across months or years of interaction based on your specific responses, until it became the most exact version of that signal your cat could produce for an audience of one. The constant meower is not broken. It is not simply anxious or loud by disposition. It is a communicator that has built a channel directed specifically at you and is using it with increasing precision because you, specifically, have demonstrated that you are capable of receiving it. The question was never whether your cat was trying to say something. The question is whether you have been hearing what they were actually asking. If you want to understand the other half of what your cat is trying to tell you, the signals they send when they go completely silent, that video is next.